My guest today on Veterans Chronicles is Herman Zeitchik. He is a World War II veteran and a veteran of the Normandy invasion, the Battle of the Bulge, and the European theater in general. Herman, it's very nice to talk with you today. Let's start from the beginning. Where were you born and raised?
I was born in Linden, New Jersey, and went to school in Linden to my high school years.
Is there a legacy of military service in your family? Is there a legacy of military service in your family?
I had a brother that was in the service also.
Did that inspire you to serve? Did that inspire you to serve?
No, I was drafted.
Okay. What were your thoughts when you heard about Pearl Harbor on December 7th when the Japanese attacked the U.S.? What did you think?
Pearl Harbor. First, I didn't know too much about Pearl Harbor as a young person. But we were playing ball outside, and the boys ran up and said the president was making a speech. We all went to a car that had a radio, and we listened to President Roosevelt tell about the bombing at Pearl Harbor. And he said all young men 18 of age should go to the nearest post office and register. Well, I ran home, told my dad he had to take me down. I was in my senior year in high school. I didn't make the graduation. But I have a nice story to tell you about that graduation.
You went back several years later, oh, many years later, correct?
Many years later, they invited me back for the graduation.
I read about that. Let's get to that later. So when were you drafted?
I was drafted in 42.
You were drafted in
Linden, New Jersey.
Linden, New Jersey, and you were drafted in 1942?
42.
Okay. What were your thoughts when you were drafted? What were your thoughts? What did you think?
I thought it would be a lot of fun going into the Army, and just didn't realize how worrisome it was to my parents.
And you mentioned that you had a brother.
I had a brother.
And was he also drafted?
He was also drafted, and he served in North Africa, and I served the 4th Division.
Where did you go for training? Where did you go for training?
My training took place at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. When you go into the Army, they give you all kinds of papers to fill out. Of course, they have to know what you can do. And the Army needed everybody, cooks, bakers.
What were you assigned? What were you assigned to do?
Well, when I was in school, I took a commercial course, and those are the days that we used typewriters, and I typed 85 words a minute, which was very good. So I put that on my papers. Now in the Army, everything is typewritten, nothing written. Because everybody has different kind of handwriting. So when it's typewritten, there's no problem. And when I put down I was a typist, they grabbed me real quick.
So tell me a bit about training. What was it like? How long did you train?
Training, months. Training took quite a while. Of course, I was in the artillery, and I had to learn all about the cannons, 105 howitzers, all the different positions to fire the gun and work in a unit.
When were you eventually sent overseas?
I don't remember how many months went by, but the training was over. It's never really over, because you still had to get up when the bugle goes off, and you have to go to breakfast, you have to go to school, you have to take rifle training. That never stops.
When you were sent overseas, you were sent to England? Is that
We
correct?
went to England first.
What did you do there?
We went to England, and then to Wales. That picture you see there is taken in Wales.
I'll get a shot of it.
And gradually, being in headquarters, my job was to take care of the maps that we had to issue to the different units.
How did you do that?
Well, by seeing the maps, I had an idea where we were going. But everything is, one thing you don't do is talk about your work.
So you didn't talk about the maps that you made?
No, we didn't talk about it at all. And as we advanced, we gave out different maps all the time.
What kind of maps did you make for the routes you would go on?
Yes.
Okay. And did you and your fellow soldiers, what did you know about what you were training for, about the invasion? Did you know anything?
Oh, everybody knew that it was to fight the Germans, of course. And there were some bad people there.
What did you think you would have to do?
Well, what did I have to do?
What did you think you would have to prepare for? Meaning, did you know it was going to be an invasion?
I knew it was going to be an invasion. Where, I didn't know till the last minute.
Okay.
Or when.
Or when.
But I do know that it was summertime, and During the night, we heard a lot of our B-25s flying over our heads, pulling gliders. So we all figured it was coming up.
So you said you didn't learn where you were going to invade until just
We didn't know where. No.
When did you learn? So tell me about when you learned where you'd be invading.
Well, all we knew was we traveled across the English Channel to France. Where in France, nobody knew. Till the morning, they dropped the nets off the side of the ship, and we had to climb down the nets into the landing craft. Picture that? And getting ready to invade Normandy.
Tell me about June 6, 1944, and hitting hitting Utah Beach.
Well, I think we were lucky we got into Utah Beach because the other beaches were so heavily mined that we lost a lot of men, good men. And you imagine a landing craft with a lot of soldiers in it. All you saw were these metal hats that I have here. And the sailors told us, keep your heads down so no bullets would bounce, hit your head.
Were you scared? No, 19, right?
I wasn't scared. I don't remember whether I was scared. Oh yes, you're frightened, all right, because you knew you're really going into action. But there were so many landing boats bringing soldiers in that my biggest worry was to find my unit that I belonged to and not wind up with infantry men.
What was your unit's mission?
Well, the first was to set up our batteries, talking about the 105 howitzers. There was Abel, Baker, Charlie, and Service, and each one had cannons. And we talked to them by radio. We were on it together. And when the infantry needed firepower, they let us know by radio. Of course, they also had the maps with them, and they marked out on the map where they were, where they wanted to fire. And we fired one red round as a finder, and when they said it was fire for action, we'd let them have it. We gave the 12th and the 8th Infantry firepower, and that's a lot of units.
Definitely. You were with the 4th.
4th.
How long were you on the beach that day?
most of the morning, it didn't take long to get off the beach. But I do know we lost about 5,000 men that morning till I found the different men that I had to be with. It's like a lot of people coming off a small boat, and you were looking for the people that you belonged to.
How did you find them?
Just looking,
Okay.
because it was morning. You can imagine how bad the Germans felt when they saw all these ships coming in.
Definitely. Did you have much contact with Teddy Roosevelt Jr.?
With who?
Teddy Roosevelt Jr.?
Not personally.
Okay. He was in your division. Was he in your unit or not?
Roosevelt was with the 4th Division, yes.
And he was also on Utah Beach.
Yes.
That day.
Mm-hmm.
So once you got off the beach, your mission was to take St. Lo. Is that correct?
The mission was to... Good. The paratroopers, they left the night before, and they flew over, and they parachuted out of the big planes and landed in France, in the St. Lo area. And our job was to go to St. Lo to relieve them. And that's what we did.
Tell me about that.
Well, the infantry was on trucks. The artillery was also in their own vehicles, because we had the different cannons. And it was mostly small arms firing into St. Lo to get the Germans.
When did you eventually get there? When did you eventually get to St. Lo?
That day, we got to St. Lo that day.
On June 6th?
We landed in the morning. By the evening, we were in St. Lo.
Okay. Okay. So tell me about that summer of 1944 and what that was like.
The summer?
The summer of 1944 and your mission throughout France and providing maps for different infantry units. Tell me about that.
Well, we had forward observers. That was officers that went to that fort with the different artillery units, with the infantry units. And when they needed firepower, meaning they wanted to knock out tanks or German positions, they marked it on a map and gave us the numbers on the map. We had the same maps, and we, headquarters, sent this information to the batteries, and the batteries fired on to the position. It was very well organized, very well trained.
You got a lot of training. So it was some time before you arrived in Paris. That was in August.
Paris, well, the Germans did a very bad job in Paris. They stole as much as they can carry, hurt many people, or I should say killed many people, and we had to go into Paris. And Eisenhower told them they had so many hours to get out, otherwise they would be captured. So they left, and we came into Paris. And the first night, I slept under the Eiffel Tower. Have you been to Paris?
Yeah.
You've seen the Eiffel Tower, so you know. And when the French people woke up in the morning, I'll show you pictures. When the French people woke up in the morning and they saw the American soldiers, they brought down fruit, flowers, which they didn't have themselves. But we had lots of food as soldiers. So wound up giving them food, but they were very pleased.
What was it like? Were you happy to be there? To
Yes, because we all heard about Paris, and in turn I made friends there. And up until a few years ago, I did correspond, but that all ended. I figured I wasn't going back to Paris anymore. One time.
Just adjust your microphone. It's rubbing up against that. There we go. So after Paris, where did you go after that?
After Paris. Well, we were still giving firepower to the 8th and 12th, the 4th Division. The 8th and 12th was in the 4th Division. And we still gave them firepower. As they moved up, we moved up with them. And I don't remember.
We were eventually in the Battle of the Bulge.
Yes, Battle of the Bulge.
What did you do before you got to that battle?
Well, while it was happening, the Germans had to bring supplies from Germany, but they didn't have it. They were running out of oil and gasoline for their vehicles. So that's how the Battle of the Bulge started.
So
They had to get the Germans had to get to the big tanks that held the gasoline and oil, and we stopped that. That was the big factor of ending the war.
So where were you when you were told that you had to stop the Germans from getting to Antwerp, was where they were trying to go, right? Germans were trying to get to the port of Antwerp?
They were trying to get to the port, but there was so much fighting going on. When I say fighting, I mean the infantry fighting. And we were giving them the cannon fire that they needed. So there was, not only did we give them the firepower, we had to protect ourselves. So it was a big job.
How'd you do it?
We did it. I'm here.
How cold was it?
Wintertime. And the captain of our unit asked the division whether we should pull out. It means pull out, and they told us absolutely not, stay where you are. Put everybody on the line. And like 2 fields away, the Germans were shooting at us. But I had my vehicle with all the maps, and I had to take that and go to the rear so that in case anything bad happened, that the Germans would capture us. They wouldn't capture the maps. And that way,
Then they would know where...
what we were getting ready to do. And that was the end of that. That was the Battle of the Bulge. But the Germans, they did a lot of bad things. Of course, they had young men like we had young men. And they took the uniforms off our men that were prisoners. And they tried to get into headquarters. They tried to get into our headquarters and bomb them. So we were always on the lookout that no strange soldiers would come along.
Did you ever discover any? Did you personally ever discover any?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How could you tell? You didn't know them?
Well, the soldiers, they put on our uniforms, and when we took them as prisoners, they spoke very little English. They spoke mostly German. So we had them.
Anything else you wanted to say about the Battle of the Bulge? How much snow there was?
Snow was deep. It was a very cold winter. And
did you have supplies?
Supplies, we had plenty of supplies. But a lot of people, a lot of the infantrymen couldn't sleep in houses. They set up tents or different places to sleep away from the winter. Not good being in the army.
So after that success in January of 45 is when that battle ended, January 45. Do you remember where you went next?
After the Battle of the Bulge, don't remember what happened.
And at some point, I read that you discovered a sub camp of Dachau concentration.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
President Eisenhower knew about the concentration camps. And he said, any soldier that had a camera, and now you always carry my camera, always had it on me. Any soldier carried a camera if they're near the concentration camp to go and take pictures, because years down the road, people will forget about the concentration camp. And I did go and to look at it. And I had, if you know what a soldier uniform is with big pockets on the side, I have a Bible, which is right here. You want to get the Bible for me? You see it? A small Bible. Yes. I always carry the Army Bible. And
You wanna hold it up, and I'll get a shot of it.
it's not that I'm that religious, but I always wanted something to read. So I always opened the Bible to any page, and I read it.
You always had it on you?
Always had it on me. When I went into the concentration camp, I saw these people with these uniforms on, and nobody in the headquarters knew about it. And I learned afterwards about the concentration camp. And what I did was, on the front page, they asked for your home name, home address, religion, and parents' names. And I always put my mother's name down as my parents. And I took the first page. I didn't want to give my Bible up. I tore the page out. I gave it to the man. I said, maybe someday somebody will write to me that they saw me at the concentration camp. I never heard of them. But this is the Bible.
How did you discover the camp?
We were fighting. It was right in our path.
And you took pictures of it? You took pictures of it?
I have a picture someplace with the chaplain there.
What did you think about seeing it? What did you think when you saw it?
Well, most of the people in the camp were freed by the infantry. But there were some people that had no place to go. And the infantry, our infantry boys, were giving them food, drink, different things to eat. So they stayed on.
So you made another interesting discovery. You uncovered a cave that was filled
Yes,
with artwork. Tell me about that.
we were on the road. Many little towns have big churches. The French people are church people. They have big churches and little houses and a lot of farms. And this road, one of my jobs was to keep the French people off the road at a certain time. Of course, we knew when the trucks would be by, bringing the supplies to us. And I told the sister in the church not to be on the road around 5 o'clock. These trucks came, about 4 or 5 trucks at a time, big trucks carrying all kinds of food. And people were saved by not going on the road. But as we walked on the road, there was infantry men drinking wine. There's a lot of wine in France. And we asked them where they got the wine. He said, there's a cave not too far up. Help yourself. So we went there. Sure enough, a lot of the boys took wine, but I didn't drink. I never drank. I never smoked. And I must say I was a pretty good-looking guy when I was...
You got pictures?
Yes.
I want to see pictures.
Pretty good. Not so bad now. And we took the wine, and I said, this not only wine, there was cases with art in it that the Germans had stolen from the different houses and museums. And they put them in these crates, and they were in the cave also. So we called headquarters and told them exactly what we've seen. So they said, send trucks there. And a lot of that was put onto the trucks.
So they had stolen personal art as well as from museums?
Museum art, yes.
Museum art as well?
Beautiful pictures. All these wooden crates.
And you eventually got it back? Eventually helped get it back?
Well, the problem is they had to put all this artwork into a certain building, and people had to tell what kind of art they had. Otherwise, people would just take anything. So they described the pictures that you had, they had that was taken by the Germans, and if we had it, we gave it to them. It was good.
Okay. So this was towards the end of the war.
Yes. Battle of the Bulge was near the end of the war. Now we were getting ready. They told us, headquarters, to pack up because we were going home to get new supplies, meaning for the invasion of Japan. Now I'm reading this book now. It tells all about it. And we got home to Henderson, North Carolina.
Is that where your base was? That's where your base was? Was that the base that you had
Yes.
in Henderson? Okay.
And we were supposed to get new supplies. And what happened was the weekend came, I had nothing to do. So I got a pass to go home. And they told me every night to check in, call North Carolina to see if they needed me. Of course, I was in headquarters. I had a certain job to do. And the Harry Truman dropped the first atomic bomb. And the Japanese finally gave up. And that was the end of the war.
Well, what were your thoughts when you heard that the Japanese surrendered?
I was still in the army. I still had to go back. So when I got back, they were starting to discharge a lot of the men. Because the wars were all over.
But you thought that you would potentially have to invade Japan.
Yes, that was the intention.
So what were your thoughts when you learned that you wouldn't have to?
Oh, I was happy because I knew it was going to be a terrible loss.
So how much longer were you in the army?
To the 45,
Okay.
3 years.
Okay. And what did you do after the war?
After the war, a lot of the boys went back to school, went back to work, got married, and I wasn't ready to do any of those yet. Being away and not having a girlfriend. And it was easy to go to school to learn something. And I did.
What did you go to school for?
I went to school. When I got out of the army, I went to school for a company that made parts for furnaces. And I did that for the whole summer. But it was a job that had to do with working lathe. You know what a lathe is? It's a machine that cuts metal, turns around and cuts metal. I worked these machines, and there was no future in that. So I left that. I went back to school. Then came to Washington. I've been in Washington since.
And when did you become a cop?
Oh, about 20 years ago, maybe a little longer. And I wasn't so much of a policeman. Just stop cars. You see the case, I carry my pistol under my arm because I drove a car, different special people, to the White House, State Department, Pentagon. And that's how I got to know the Kennedys.
Did you work with them at all?
No, I drove this supercar,
Okay. For,
but I still had to have a weapon.
right, right. For a while, you didn't talk about the war.
Yes, for quite a while I didn't talk about it. But I had a lot of different things, and I always said, I'll put it together. Still adding to it and still putting it together. It's not easy. It's really difficult.
What inspired you to start talking about the war and your experience?
Because people knew that I was in the war, and one tells the other, and the children tell the teachers. The teachers got in touch with me, and thus I go to the school and I talk to them, usually in the auditorium.
So when was that you started talking more about?
Oh, about 10 years ago.
Okay, okay. And also around that time, you were awarded the French Legion of Honor.
Yes.
Tell me about that and what that means.
Well, the French government, I belong to the Battle of the Bulge organization, and they were told that the French government was looking for veterans that were in the Battle of the Bulge, landed in Normandy. So my daughters answered for me, and they in turn got in touch with me, and I'll show you the letters. I'll show you the letters. And they presented me with the French Legion of Honor. Beautiful medal. Mm.
It's up there? Yeah. You have it hanging up there. Well, I'll make sure I get it.
No, the medal's on my jacket.
Ah, okay.
But it could be the picture. I got a letter
Mm-hmm.
from the president when he was president,
Mm-hmm.
in the White House. And I was also invited by the Belgian government for the 65th anniversary to go to Belgium. 6 veterans went. And I was one of them. Many good things have come out of this.
And recently, you reconnected with someone from your high school.
Yes. What happened was, they invite me they want the veterans to come downtown. Ever been to a parade downtown?
Yes.
See the
yes.
veterans?
Yes.
So I was down there, and I was talking to some people, and I told them when I was in high school, I played in the band, clarinet, and we had a uniform, orange and black. So one of the men says, there's a band in the field, orange and black uniforms. I said, I'll take a look at it. I went out into the fields around 7th Street, where the parade started, talked to them, and they said they're from Linden. So the supervisor came over to me and asked me about it. I told him I played in the band. He got so excited when he went back to the school. The school got excited and invited me back for my graduation. So when they had the graduation in June, the school graduation, the seniors, they gave me my diploma. It's on the wall there.
So what did it mean to get your diploma after all those years?
Well, I had the credits, so I was really entitled to it. And you know, the school gets so much money from the government. When you attend, every day, the school gets money for that. So that's good.
You have seen some incredible things throughout your service, and when you think about your service to our country, what are you most proud of? When you think about your service to our country, what are you most proud of?
I'm most proud of being in the service, being a soldier, making an accomplishment, becoming a sergeant, and just advancing. And that made me proud.
Do you have any other thoughts about your service, about reconnecting with your high school, or anything that you'd like to say?
I have many different things in my mind that I should really sit down and talk about it quickly and not hesitate and leave it for my children.
Sir, thank you for your service. It's been an honor talking with you today.
It's been an honor meeting you and your lovely friend.
My name is Megan Maggi. I'm talking with Herman Zeitchik. He's a World War II veteran of the U.S. Army's 4th Infantry Division, D-Day, Battle of the Bulge.
Hurricane Forest.
And where?
Hurricane Forest.
Hurricane Forest. And thank you for your service, sir.
Thank you.